Now at 5, heavy lifting after some heavy damage. The KOMO 4 drone was high above crews hard at work removing trees from rooftops in some hard-hit east side neighborhoods.
More than 72 hours since the bomb cyclone started, entire neighborhoods are still in the dark. Tonight we're learning that some people might be without power longer than the initial estimates.
It's taking an entire community to help with the cleanup effort. Tonight our bomb cyclone team coverage continues. KOMO's Joel Moreno and Chief Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell are standing by, but we begin with KOMO's Jackie Kent, who spoke with neighbors in a hard-hit neighborhood in Issaquah. Jackie?
Yeah, and Preston, this street in particular had trees fall on at least 3 homes, plus power lines. In fact, if you take a look behind me, you could see how low these wires are. Now, dozens of people are coming together to help their neighbors through this mess. Take a walk around Squawk Mountain in Issaquah and you'll hear chopping wood, power saws, and neighbors discussing next cleanup efforts. But ask just about anyone and they'll tell you they can't forget the sound of the bomb cyclone hitting their neighborhood days earlier.
And you could just hear the crack boom from the trees hitting, the power transformers blowing out. It was like a hurricane coming through here.
The KOMO 4 drone shows a crane removing a massive tree from a home on this block off Mount Fury Circle and Mountain Peak Boulevard Southwest. Next door, the homeowner explains 2 trees fell on his roof, destroying the carport and knocking off his chimney. And down the street, you can't miss this massive tree completely uprooted. For reference, I'm about 5'7", so I estimate the top of those roots are about 15 feet high. Luckily, this tree did not fall on the house, but it did hit the power lines. Now it's taking the entire neighborhood's help for the days-long cleanup, as multiple telephone poles look like they're just barely hanging on. Neighbors say PSE estimates power could be restored here within the next several days. So some families are preparing to celebrate Thanksgiving elsewhere.
It would take a squadron of PSC guys to come out here and actually fix it. It would be a miracle.
Ron Falls says while it's chaotic and still dangerous around here, it's this tight-knit community getting each other through the hard times like they have before. Looking at all this devastation, what gets you and your family through all of this?
The community is just so great, and they come together. And we'll be talking about it like we did back when the Snowmageddon happened. We'll get through it, and it'll be kind of a memory.
And we're told that over the next 3 Sundays, the city of Issaquah is hosting cleanup events where people can drop off their yard waste for free at Tibbetts Valley Park. We've posted those details at KOMOnews.com. For now, live in Issaquah, Jackie Kent, KOMO News.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. Over the past 72 hours, power crews have made incredible progress at reconnecting people to the grid. At one point, there were more than 650,000 customers across western Washington without power. Puget Sound Energy says it's now down to about 113,000 customers without power. Snohomish Public Utilities is now down to about 10,000 customers in the dark. And Seattle City Light still has more than 2,400 customers left to reconnect. People in one Bellevue neighborhood say they're still waiting for Puget Sound Energy crews to arrive. This is along Northeast 4th Street and 165th Avenue Northeast in Bellevue. You can see all kinds of power equipment and wires down on the roadway. One neighbor estimates there is about 400 feet of wire down.
Much like we saw in Issaquah, heavy equipment had to be called in to help a neighborhood in the Sammamish Highlands. Those trees came down like dominoes, and homeowners are trying to assess the damage and salvage what they can. KOMO's Joel Moreno is live where that tree damage led to some intense activity today. Joel?
Yeah, Molly, chainsaws, they blared all afternoon, cutting away the trunks and branches that came crashing down. This one right here, it took out really most of this fence, but there are other massive trees that right now, they were perched precariously across people's rooftops. The KOMO 4 drone, it really gives you a perspective on this. You see the 2 sizable firs toppled over and coming to rest on this 2-story home in the Sammamish Highlands. They actually arched out over the street to some extent, and people really kept their distance in case anything shifted. Now, a lot of the neighborhoods, they gathered around to watch the tree removal company go to work this afternoon. Those teams, they cut the trunk into sections and lifted them away with a crane. One man actually rode the log down to the ground. The homeowners were inside when the trees initially collapsed on Tuesday, and we spoke to one of them just before all this work began.
Well, fortunately, it landed on our bedroom, so there was some damage that came down, some debris. I crawled up into the attic and it appears that there's just a couple holes at the moment, but I'll know better and I'll have to look and see if there's any structural once they get it off.
I really hope we can try to get power lines underground. We've been without power for days here, and we still don't know when it's going to come up.
So as you can see, you're on the corner here. You got 2 trees on top of someone's houses, but pretty much every block you're seeing someone with tree damage.
Well, beyond all the work that we just talked about, there is still plenty to do to clear away the streets, as there are still a number of road closures in this area. Damage truly extensive, and even things like collapsed fences, those will be likely very costly to repair. Now, we have seen some lights come back on throughout the Sammamish Highlands, but still a lot of people waiting for their service to return. Puget Sound Energy says that their goal is to get everybody back online by some point tomorrow, probably in the afternoon. But they did caution that there's a few areas around Sammamish and even parts of Issaquah where the damage is so extensive that it could keep some neighborhoods in the dark for a while to come. Reporting live, Joel Marino, KOMO News.
Unbelievable, Joel. Thank you. Grocery stores across the region are still trying to recover after the outages destroyed perishable goods. We visited a few grocery stores in Bellevue and Mercer Island. Many of them had to remove items from the freezers, refrigerated sections, and the deli after days in the dark. Others were able to get by with generators. QFC says at one point they had 25 stores without power. Others are still without high-demand items like propane and firewood. We checked out the Stop and Shop convenience store in Enumclaw. The store is still closed and without power tonight. They lost a lot of products inside the store, and they're still unable to pump gas. Store owners are calling it a financial disaster.
All the inventories inside, the ice cream, the chicken, all the deli is all spoiled already because there's no power.
The owners are being told the power might not be on until next week.
The ongoing power outages have people turning to generators, but those generators have sparked several fires since Tuesday's storm. Fire officials are once again reminding people to keep generators outside. Woodinville officials say to keep those generators at least 15 feet away from homes. Snohomish PUD says not to plug a generator into a home's electrical system unless it has an installed transfer switch. Otherwise, the generator can backfeed onto the grid and put crews in harm's way.
That brings us to our KOMO Pulse poll. You can scan the QR code there on your screen to participate. Tonight we're asking, do you think local utility companies are appropriately prepared for mass power outages? This is a live look at the results. You can see a majority of people here, 60% say no, 40% say yes. Again, if you'd like to weigh in, just scan the QR code there on your screen. That'll take you directly to the story on KOMOnews.com.
It has been a wild weather week across the region. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell with a look at what we can expect over these next several days.
Well, at least in the next several hours, it's still a little gusty, Molly, but next several days, much, much better. The news we've been waiting for, because we have certainly earned a break around here from all of this gusty wind. It is still gusty in some locations, namely near the ocean beaches and north of Mukilteo, but even in those areas, the wind is peaking and is starting to come back down. These were among the higher gusts today, between 40 and 50 right on schedule. Southeasterly winds getting pulled into that low that is spinning over the offshore waters between Friday Harbor and Bellingham. Still quite gusty here around Seattle and Everett to 37, and we did have a gust of 53 this afternoon out of Olympia. So some impressive windy conditions still out there, even gustier near the ocean beaches, 50 to 60. This is a typical November storm, and we wouldn't be so worried about it if we didn't already have so much damage that we're trying to clean up out there. You can see this low heading back out to sea, so the deeper it gets out into the ocean, the less windy it's going to be. In spite of that, we do still have a couple of wind advisories in place. The one for Puget Sound has just expired, but it goes on there for the northwest interior for another few hours, gusting 30 to 45 there north of Everett, and a wind advisory in place for the north and central coastline. Now the high wind warning is just for the far south coast around the Long Beach Peninsula. Still a few blasts upwards of 50 to 60 there for the next couple of hours. But we're making some progress. It is eventually going to settle down. I think you're going to love the Thanksgiving forecast too. I'll bring it in your direction coming up in just a couple of minutes.
All right, Shannon, thank you. Right now is a great time to download our KOMO News app. We'll send you breaking news alerts, weather updates, and traffic alerts all straight to your phone. It is free wherever you get your apps.